ॐ ज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनामिने गौरतुसे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। आप सभी भक्तों का हार्दिक स्वागत है। वेलकम एवरीवन फॉर टुडेज डिस्कशन ऑन श्रीमद् भगवद गीता। सो yesterday we discussed from chapter 2 and verse number 30. देहि नित्यम अवध्वयम् देहे सर्वस्य भारत तस्मात् सर्वाणि भूतानि न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि। Dehi, that means the soul, honor of the material body is known as Dehi. And Deha, these two things are different. Deha means this body, Sarir, and Dehi means the possessor or honor of this material body. Just like Dhan and Dhani. Dhan means wealth, and Dhani means the honor of the wealth, possessor of the wealth, one who possesses wealth. And Gyan and Gyani. Gyan means knowledge, and Gyani means the possessor of the knowledge, one who possesses knowledge. That means that person. Similarly, in the scriptures, these two things are explained: Dehi and Deha, Sariri and Sarira. That differentiate. That proves that we are not this body. We are different from this body. We we are the honor of the body. That means we are living within the body. Body is like outward garment, or the body is like vehicle, or the body is like a house within which the resident uh, is the living person is living. The honor is living there. The passenger is sitting there. So in this way, this differentiation is there, and the entire this sixth section last almost 20 verses, including this one. Lord Krishna very analytically explained that uh, we are not this body, we are a spirit soul, and the characteristics of the soul are completely different from the characteristics of the material body. The material body characteristics of the material body is that it is always going to get destroyed. It is dull, lifeless, no consciousness, no living symptoms, and temporary, and it goes on degrading, and ultimately it is destroyed at the end, which we know as death. But for the soul, there is no death, there is no destruction, no degradation, no change at all. Whereas the body is changing every moment. According to medical science, this is a fact that every moment the body is changing. Every moment, thousands and thousands of newer and newer cells are getting generated, and thousands old cells are getting destroyed. So these things are going on continuously, every moment after moment. But for the soul, there is no change at all. Soul always remains as it is, nityo, nityo sanatana. That is the nature of the soul. And fortunately, we are that soul. We are not this body. So isn't it a very good news for all of us that we are something which never changes? That means we are something which is never going to get destroyed, which has no death. Nobody can kill it. No changes can happen. That is being. That is the soul. And we are fortunately that spirit soul. That's why there should be no cause of any lamentation. But as long as the soul, that may we, are bound or conditioned or entangled within this temporary, perishable material body. So we also experience uh, this distress or miseries because of the body. But as soon as one becomes free from this false conception, free from the bodily designation, even while living within the body, the person, the living entity or the soul, if he becomes free from this greatest kind of illusion that I am this body, then he is not influenced by the effect, or influenced by the destruction or changes of the body. He becomes uninfluenced completely. Just like, for example, simple example, suppose you are driving or you are traveling in a car. uh, so suppose if it is your car, and if there is some accident and the car gets some kind of scratches, then immediately you become worried, because that you think that this is your car. So as soon as there is identification that this car belongs to me, so immediately then we feel distress. But if suppose if you are sitting in a Ola cab and you are traveling, and if the cab driver, because of not properly driving, it hits, and there is a scratch on the car, so then you don't become worried, because this car doesn't belong to me. I simply have to pay some rupees just for traveling, and the this responsibility is the driver of the car. So then you don't care for that. Similarly, as long as we think that this body belongs to me, and what to speak of thinking that this is my body, uh, uh, most of the people, they think that I am this body. Suppose if somebody is sitting in the car and he's thinking this is my car, this is one illusion, and because of which he gets the distress. But suppose if he thinks that I am the car, yeah, uh, that we can say, if somebody thinks that aham car asmi, that is ahankar, false ego. Aham means I, car asmi means I am this car, I am this body, this vehicle. So somebody thinks that I am this car, then as soon as there is accident, and if there is a scratch in the car, then how much pain, suffering he will experience. So that is our situation in this material condition, a conditional state. As long as the living entity thinks that I am this body, so much pain, so much distress one has to undergo. One cannot become free from this illusion, because suppose if somebody thinks that I'm this body, so if he gets some very dangerous type of disease like cancer, or some disease which can kill us, so immediately that person becomes so much worried about that, so much distress, anxiety comes. uh. If somebody thinks I'm this body, and if body is not good looking, body is not up to the mark, uh, so immediately this inferiority complex comes, and one starts, she goes into deep depression. And somebody who has good, handsome or beautiful looking body, so another kind of problem. He thinks that I am so handsome, I'm so beautiful, I'm so nice. False ego. He ends up into false ego. In both the ways, if somebody is identifying with the body, thinking that I am this body, so whether the body is good or bad, the end result is same. It is going to give miseries only. And second thing, doesn't matter how good the body may be, ultimately the body is getting destroyed. From as the time passes, the body is the body will no longer remain young and beautiful and active and enthusiastic, energetic. As the time passes, the body is sure to become old and inactive, unenthusiastic. There will be no energy, not looking very good. Hairs will become white, and skin will not remain very young and fresh. So these things will then bother a lot to a person who has this misidentification that I am this body. So that's why. So this is thing. So first thing is that to think that I'm this body, and then second thing is that if somebody thinks that this is my body, then also he becomes entangled in the suffering situation. So this is known as aham mameti in Bhagavatam. This is this attachment has been explained as ahamta and mamata. These two things keeps the conditioned souls bound in the cycle of birth and death, and the living entity undergoes uh, unlimited series of miseries, one after another, one after another. Birth, death, old age, disease, and then three kinds of miserable situation. This in this way, the suffering situation continues. The cycle of infinite cycle of suffering situation goes on for the living entity. But as soon as one becomes free from this illusion, misconception that I am this body, immediately he's relieved. He becomes free. So that's why Lord Krishna is very mercifully he's explaining to us in these verses of Bhagavad Gita that we are not this material body. Uh, we should understand this. That's why this is the last verse, concluding verse of this section, verse number 30. Lord Krishna started speaking science of soul. So this is the last conclusion word. So he finally concludes that Dehi Nitya, Dehi is Nitya, eternal. Avadhyayam, it cannot be destroyed, cannot be killed. Dehi Sarvasya Bharata, for all the living entities who have accepted this material body, this is the truth that the living entity is Nitya, it cannot be killed, it cannot be destroyed. Uh, O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being. Tasmat sarvani bhutani. Natvam sochitum arhasi. That's why you should not lament for anyone. You should focus on your duties. Right now, your duty is that you fight for the dharma, fight for the cause of dharma. Don't worry about your body or others' body. Uh, so, similarly, when on the path of Krishna consciousness or spiritual life, if one wants to advance in spiritual consciousness properly, then one has to understand it properly that I am not this body, I am different from body, I am spirit soul. So, in order to advance in spiritual life, even if some bodily discomforts come, so it doesn't matter. I will accept it and perform this austerity in order to get the proper understanding, proper spiritual advancement. That is that is the conclusion. That's why Krishna says, Tasma Sarvani Bhutani Natam Sochitum. One should not become too conscious, or one should not lament over the body and at the cost of sacrificing one's um, duties in spiritual life. So the Lord, in the purpose of both rights, the Lord now concludes the chapter of instruction on the immutable spirit soul. Immutable means aware. Aware means inexhaustible also, you can say, that it is not at all exhausted at any moment of time. So the Lord is concluding this instruction. So in describing the immortal soul, in various ways, Lord Krishna establishes that the soul is immortal and the body is temporary. Therefore, Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, should not abandon his duty out of fear that his grandfather and teacher, Bhishma and Drona, will die in the battle. So, understanding the fact that the soul is immortal, soul cannot be changed, unchangeable, eternal, uh, and the body is temporary, body is sure to get destroyed. So, Arjuna, and for that matter, all of us, we should not abandon our spiritual duties out of fear of our material uh, things, material body or material success, or um with the idea that if I give my time for spiritual activities, if I become Krishna conscious, if I chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then what will happen to my material life? Uh, your material life is already destined. What is the destiny? It is going to get finished today or tomorrow, doesn't matter. It's just a matter of time. How does it matter? If just like right now, this year is 2025, 2025. Uh, just few time ago, it was 2020 Corona time, and just see 5 years have passed. And if you go little before, so it was 2010. when I was studying and planning so much that I will build career like this. 15 years passed. Similarly, another 15 years, another 30 years, 40 years will pass. And this body will become old and I will be on the deathbed. And whatever I have acquired, whatever I have done, then everything is in just in one stroke, one smash of kala or time, then everything is finished. So what is the use? Rather, I should have utilized my time in life to acquire some pious spiritual credit also, which will go with me, along with me, when I leave the body. So those who are intelligent, really, those who have real intelligence and substance within them, they can analyze these things very nicely. They can understand these things. Those who have no intelligence, uh, less intelligent, they will just become influenced by the temptations of material world and will give up the activities of Krishna consciousness, which Krishna is very nicely, clearly telling that Tasma Sarvani Bhutani Nattam Sochitu Maharaj. You should not give up your duty. So on the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from the material body, not that there is no such thing as soul, or that living symptoms develop at a certain stage of material maturity, resulting from the interaction of chemicals. So Krishna is the supreme authority. Everyone accepts. Everyone accepts that Bhagavad Gita is a bona fide literature. Nobody till now has denied the authority of Bhagavad Gita. Only fools and those who are of demonic nature, they only just for the sake of saying, they may say that Bhagavad Gita is useless mythology, but nobody cares for them. Suppose if a drunkard, he says, I don't accept Narendra Modi as prime minister. So who cares for your opinion? Will anybody go and argue with him? No, no. Narendra Modi is prime minister. Nobody will care. You speak whatever nonsense you want to speak doesn't going to make any change. Narendra Modi prime minister will remain as it is. He will remain prime minister even if you don't accept. Similarly, those foolish people or atheistic people who do not want to accept the authority of Bhagavad Gita or Krishna, that does not make any difference. But those who are sober, intelligent, and little pious, those who have some purity, some understanding, reasoning, they very nicely accept. Not just, it's not that only devotees or only those persons who are in spiritual life, spiritually, those who follow spirituality, they only accept Bhagavad Gita. Even in material fields also, so many great personalities, they have accepted Bhagavad Gita. For material purpose, doesn't matter, even if for material purpose, but they have accepted like great personalities from all diverse these sections of the society, including scientists, celebrities, politicians, and all others. Everyone have accepted Bhagavad Gita. So that's why, on the authority of Bhagavad Gita and on the authority of Sri Krishna, we can conclude that we are not this body, we are spirit soul, because these teachings are very nicely explained, are being explained by the supreme authority Sri Krishna. And we have discussed from last 1 month the science of soul, almost 20 verses. So though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged, but at the time of war, it is not discouraged when there is actual need of it. That need must be justified in terms of the sanction of the Lord and not capriciously. So although the soul is immortal and body is anyways going to get destroyed, but that does not mean that we don't care for the material body. But the point, the important point is that uh, we do not want to neglect our spiritual duties just for the sake of trying our best to maintain this material body, material success, material arrangement, which is not going to happen anyway. So this is the point. We are not against material success or maintenance of the material body in a proper way. No, that we should do. That is required. But we should not be so foolish to think that I can permanently I can make all the material arrangements and I can become materially completely well situated and happy. No, that is not going to happen because everyone knows that their death is there. That's why it is saying in English, as sure as death. So if somebody has to confirm something, give some assurity. They say this is as sure as death. That means death is sure. So we should not become foolish, and we should accept the authority of Krishna and instructions of the Bhagavad Gita and know that properly that we are not this body, we are a spirit soul. So it is our duty to work for the welfare of ourselves. That's okay. You also work for the welfare of your body, your material things, material arrangements. No, no problem. You do that, but don't forget to do the real welfare for your own self. Uh, your own self. One should be doing it. Okay. So in this way, this was the last verse of this section of instruction on the spiritual. Now, from next verse onward, verse number 31, Krishna is going to give another reason why Arjuna should fight. The first reason Krishna gave that Arjuna, you are not this body, so you should not lament unnecessarily for the protection or maintenance of the body because it is anyway is going to get destroyed. So for the sake of just maintaining your body, you don't sacrifice your duties. You must do it. So in the first chapter, if you remember, so Arjuna gave various reasons why he doesn't want to fight. So he gave four reasons in the first chapter. So the first reason was he was feeling excessive attachment for his material relatives. So in order to counteract that reason, Krishna very mercifully explained this section of Bhagavad Gita, the science of soul, which began from verse number 11 till verse number 13, these 20 verses. So that means the lesson is, we can become free from all attachments towards anything material. Material things, material people, material ambitions, material things, whatever material, which becomes great stumbling blocks on the path of our spiritual advancement. That is a fact. The material attachments, the more we keep the material attachments within our heart, it is going to remain as a great stumbling block for our spiritual advancement. It will completely block our spiritual advancement. We cannot progress. That's not possible. So one has to overcome, one has to remove these attachment, material attachments. And the best way to become free from material attachments is to understand that I do not belong to this material body, material world. I have nothing to do with the activity of material body, material mind, material things. So by listening to these wonderful lectures of Bhagavad Gita by the Supreme Lord Krishna, Krishna is giving this lecture, instructions on the supreme, instructions on the science of soul. Very nicely, Krishna has analyzed. If we read it again and again, hear it again and again, then surely we can become free from material attachments, which becomes a cause of great lamentation and anxiety. And in this way, we can become free from this attachment and progress very smoothly on the path of the spiritual life. Okay, thank you very much. With this, we'll stop. If you have any questions, you can ask. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
प्रणाम
Hare Krishna.
प्रभु जैसे अभी आप लेक्चर्स में बता रहे हैं कि हम लोग बॉडी नहीं, हम लोग सोल है। तो ये चीज आ रहा है मन में बार बार, क्या ये चीज बाय बर्थ अगर पेरेंट्स बच्चे को बोले या स्टार्टिंग से ही समझाएं कि
यस,
विथ
तो
नेम
बहुत
कि
अच्छा
तुम ये
रहेगा।
टेम्पररी इस बॉडी में हो, तुम्हारा नाम है, लेकिन तुम एक्चुअल में क्या हो, यू बिलोंग टू कृष्णा, योर रियल पेरेंट इज
यस,
कृष्णा। तो
वही
ये
बताना
कितना
चाहिए।
हो सकता है?
ये
हरे
इम्पोर्टेंट है।
कृष्ण धन्यवाद।
इसीलिए तो प्रहलाद महाराज भागवत में बोलते हैं, कौमारात आचरेत प्रज्ञो धर्मान भागवतम, यहाँ फ्रॉम द चाइल्डहुड stage, they should be taught that you are not this body and you belong to a spiritual realm. You belong to Krishna. So they should be taught. Rather, that is the duties of parents and teachers and anyone who becomes a guardian. If they do not perform this duty, they are committing violence act, and that is actually a sin or offense. And that is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto. Lord Rishabh says, one is not qualified, one has no right to become mother, father, teacher, spiritual master, guru, or leader, guardian, if you cannot protect their dependents from the onslaught of death. If one cannot free one's dependents from the cycle of birth and death, he is not actually qualified to become their leader. Pita na sasyat, mata na sasyat. Namo Ched. I'll show you the verse. So, Rishabdev, in the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he says this: Pita sasyat, mata na sasyat. Namo Ched yadi samupayati mrityum. Guru na sasyat. Guru na sasyat, swajano na sasyat. Pita न सज्जात् जननी न सस्यात् दैवं न तत्स्यान् न पतिश्च सस्यान् नमो चयेद्यः समुपेत मृत्युम्. One who cannot deliver his dependence from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod also. Just see. Means those demigods, if somebody, some demigod, they take all the worship and service from their worshippers. But if they cannot direct their worshipper toward the lotus feet of Lord Hari, so the demigods will also get the offense. That's why demigods generally, they are devotees of Supreme Lord. So they do their task. If some worshipper, if some of their worshippers is actually worshipping them, so then they, some or other, they make the arrangement that he gets connected to Krishna. So that arrangement is done by the demigods. So to this degree, the guru, spiritual master, one cannot become. Swajana, a relative, one cannot become. Pita, father, one cannot become father. Janani, mata, one cannot become mother. Daivam, the worshipable deity, demigods, one cannot become. And pati means husband. One is not qualified to marry also. Husband, if he cannot actually deliver his wife in Krishna consciousness. Namo Chedya Samupeta Mrityam. If one cannot free one from the cycle of birth and death. This is very much clear cut instruction. Otherwise, it is a sin. Okay. Yes, Vaishnavi Matani. Vaishnavi Pandey Mataji, you have some question?
प्रभु जी मुझे ये पूछना था कि मैं खुद को कृष्णा मतलब कृष्णा को सरेंडर कैसे करूं, बिकॉज सरेंडर करना मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि ये आसान काम नहीं है। ये बहुत ही मेरे लिए तो मुश्किल काम है, क्योंकि मैं कोई चीज ऐसे सोच ले रही हूँ कि मुझे ये नहीं करना है, पर और मैंने कृष्णा को सरेंडर किया है, पर ना थोड़ी देर बाद ही ना मेरा मन नहीं मानता। ऐसा होता है कि यार मैं कर देती हूँ, मैं कर देती हूँ, मैं कर देती हूँ, फिर मैं दूसरों की हेल्प करने में लग जाती हूँ या दूसरों को कुछ बातें समझाने में लग
Okay,
जाती हूँ।
I
हम्म।
understand. So surrender to Krishna is possible. It's a gradual process and it is scientifically done. Surrendering to Krishna is not just a theoretical concept. It is a
ओके।
scientific process. Process means when you follow certain rules or a certain, just like in science, we do experiments, we follow the methods, then we get the result. Similarly, surrendering to Krishna is a process. It's not just an event in a single one event. And we follow the process. And the first and foremost method or the first step of this process is to take shelter of a real, genuine, bona fide devotee, spiritual master, Guru Padasya, it is mentioned. So, and to take shelter means to get direction from from devotees, pure devotees. So we are very fortunate. We have such pure devotees, Srila Prabhupada. So first step is that you start getting education from Srila Prabhupada, his instructions on Krishna consciousness, how to surrender to Krishna. And that we get from his books, by reading his books, by hearing his lectures, and then by associating with devotees who are actually following perfectly teachings of Srila Prabhupada, then we can practically progress. So this is first step. You start doing this and you are doing this. So you go ahead with this. Gradually, you will come to know how you can step by step reach to the platform of fully surrendering to Krishna. So it will take time. It's a gradual process. Okay.
ओके।
Hare
प्रभु जी
Krishna.
मुझे एक और चीज पूछनी थी। मैंने ना
यस।
मतलब आपने मुझे कहा था, मैं आपसे जब लास्ट टाइम मिली थी तो आपने मुझे कहा था कि भक्ति का प्रचार करो, लोगों में फैलाओ। तो मैंने
यस।
ना एक लेडी को बोला कि आप ये पूजा पाठ, मतलब पूजा पाठ करिए, कृष्णा में इन्वॉल्व करिए खुद को। तो उन्होंने मुझे एक चीज पूछी कि क्या लोग हो जाते हैं जो हमारे बहुत नजदीक होते हैं, क्लोज होते हैं, क्या वो वापस आते हैं? क्योंकि मैंने तो सारी चीजें करके देख ली, मैंने पूजा पाठ किया, मैंने सब चीज किया। तो आप मुझे कैसे बोल रहे हो कि आप भगवत गीता पढ़ लो, आप ये कर लो, आप वो कर लो? तो वहां पे मैं बोल नहीं पाई प्रभु जी उनको, क्योंकि मुझे खुद ही पता नहीं
उनको,
था।
यस यस, तो इसलिए आप भी सुनते जाइए, तो धीरे धीरे आप समझ पाएंगे।
हम्म।
तो उनको बताइए यस, कि जो भी रिलेटिव हमारे चले जाते हैं, डेथ हो जाता है, तो वो वापस आते
हम्म।
हैं। क्यों? क्योंकि उनका डेथ नहीं
हम्म।
होता है। भगवद गीता क्लियर कट बताता है ये चीज, कि हम ये
हम्म।
शरीर नहीं है, वो आत्मा है। तो
हम्म।
आत्मा जस्ट ये शरीर कपड़े के जैसे होता है, तो ये कपड़ा छोड़ के दूसरे कपड़े को प्राप्त करने के लिए गए हैं। तो निश्चित रूप में
हम्म।
आपने जिनको खोया है, वो है किसी न किसी शरीर में, बट आपको नहीं
हम्म।
पता चलेगा। तो इसलिए
जी।
आप उनके बारे में ये टेंशन मत लीजिए कि वो कहाँ पे हैं, कैसे हैं। आप उनके लिए प्रार्थना कर
हम्म।
सकते हैं बहुत को, बिकॉज भगवान जो है, ही इज अल्टीमेट कंट्रोलर, सो ही कैन डू एनीथिंग।
हम्म।
तो अगर वो किसी ऐसी
हम्म।
स्थिति में है जो उनके लिए फेवरेबल नहीं है, जहाँ पे वो खुश नहीं है, तो इफ यू प्रे टू कृष्णा, इफ यू टेक शेल्टर ऑफ कृष्णा, देन बाय हिज मर्सी
हम्म।
यू कैन ट्रांसफर योर स्पिरिचुअल क्रेडिट टू दैट योर रिलेटिव,
हम्म।
जिनका वेल विशिंग चाहते हैं। तो दैट इज पॉसिबल।
जी।
ठीक है, धीरे धीरे हो सकता है। ओके, और रही बात आपको प्रचार के लिए मैंने बोला था, तो आप
जी।
आपके फ्रेंड सर्कल में आप ट्राई करिए, और हम आपको कुछ कॉन्टेक्ट्स देंगे। हाँ, मेरे ख्याल से
हम्म।
श्यामा माता जी, आप वैष्णवी माता जी को कॉन्टेक्ट्स दीजिए, तो आप भी उनको फॉलो करके धीरे धीरे क्लासेस में जोड़ सकते हैं। ठीक है?
मतलब मुझे पूछना था कि जैसे प्रभु जी प्रभु जी, मेरा ये क्वेश्चन था कि मतलब मन को कैसे नियंत्रित कर सकते हैं? जैसे कि हम सोचते हैं कि मंदिर वगैरह भी हमारा मन है कि मतलब नहीं चाह के भी वो चीज होती है, तो कैसे अपने मन को नियंत्रित कर सकते हैं? आप बताएंगे प्लीज।
मन को नियंत्रित करने का जो सबसे पहला प्रोसेस है, तो ये समझना कि हम मन नहीं है। ये पहले हम समझेंगे अच्छे से,
हाँ,
तो फिर हम नेक्स्ट स्टेप पे जा सकते हैं कि मन को फिर हमको मन के कार्यों में अपने आप को नहीं फंसाना है।
कंट्रोल
ठीक
भी
है,
करना है बस।
हाँ, कंट्रोल के लिए बोल रहा
हाँ,
हूँ। तो आप एक काम करिए,
कंट्रोल
हिंदी
करना ही
वाला।
मतलब।
यस यस, हो जाएगा। लेकिन एवरीथिंग बिगिंस फर्स्ट फ्रॉम एक्वायरिंग नॉलेज। पहले ज्ञान, आध्यात्मिक ज्ञान, स्पिरिचुअल नॉलेज को पहले हम प्राप्त करते हैं, फिर उसके बाद उस नॉलेज पे एक्ट करना सेकंड स्टेप होता है, विच इज मोर डिफिकल्ट, बट पॉसिबल है। बाय फॉलोइंग द प्रोसेस, साधना भक्ति जो होती है, हरे कृष्ण जप करने से we derive the spiritual strength from Lord, and then by reading and hearing and understanding knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, we know what should be done as it is. Then we try our best, and then combined with these two, spiritual strength from Lord and knowledge from Bhagavad Gita, which we get from devotees, देन इस प्रकार से कंट्रोल किया जा सकता है। ठीक है, तो आप रेगुलर आते रहिए, सुनते रहिए, धीरे धीरे ये हो जाएगा पॉसिबल। ठीक है, एंड सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज जो है वो है डिवोटी एसोसिएशन। एसोसिएशन डिवोटीज helps us or inspires us to be able to follow the principles of spiritual life very strictly, very nicely. ठीक है, तो always remain in association with devotees, keep visiting temples. The more you come and take darshan of the Supreme Lord and hear from devotees, and then gradually when you are very regular, so you will get services also, भगवान का कुछ सेवा मिलता है। तो जब उसमें अपने आप को एंगेज करते हैं, देन ग्रेजुअली द माइंड बिकम्स कंट्रोल। ठीक है, तो लेकिन ये ओवरनाइट नहीं होगा। माइंड को हमने कई जन्मों से खुला छूट दे रखा है, तो ये कुछ दिन में ही या कुछ महीने में हम एक्सपेक्ट नहीं कर सकते